Welcome, welcome. This is Marianne, and this is my superstar student from Canada who I coached for many, many years, my reluctant hero through an addictive path, not dissimilar to my own. So if anyone out there is struggling with an addictive identity where they'd love to be sugar free, or they'd love to be cocaine free, or they'd love to be alcohol free, or even to have mastery over it, or they want to stop smoking. Listen up, people, because here's right from the horse's mouth from both of us how we experience this journey without having to white knuckle it because of the support that we actually offered. So, Kimberly, welcome. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me, Marianne, and thank you for tuning in, everyone. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Yeah. So, just so we don't make it all about us, so the audience gets a real understanding. If anybody wants to let go of a idea that they are an addict, they are addicted, they are this, they are that, I'm here to tell you it's the wrong language, because addict identity is only a part of who you are as a whole person, right? And when I was coaching you and when you came to me, you kept using this word addict. And I was like, no, 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 no. Because it's like standing up at AAGA or any other A and saying that I'm an addict, I'm an addict, I'm an addict. You're just affirming, affirming, affirming. You're powerless. So, how was that journey for you? I mean, you've known me now for 8 years or something. You first came to me.
I was 2012 when I first came to you, so we're at about 11 years.
Wow.
I think the most important thing that you've just spoken to is that language in which we speak to ourselves is vital for this path, and to realize that you are not your identity. Now, with speaking to the I am an addict, I am an alcoholic, I believe there is a space for that when finding a community when you're right into sobriety. But after that identity has been uncovered, it's about moving forward now and uncovering the other parts of you that are buried within that addict identity, because there's so much more.
Yeah,
to
it's
see.
rich. And I noticed that. So for me, I used to be able to drink about 40 drinks, line up all night, smoke a packet of cigarettes without even thinking about it. And I noticed that a lot of people go into sobriety, and I did that for a couple of years. I just stopped drinking. And then I remember it was my 50th. And I thought, how the hell am I going to have a party? And I practiced. I had one wine. I was just about off my nut. And so, oh my God, it was just incredible. But the point is that I did so much inner work over the years, and so much inner work. And every single time I had, and now I have, I'm not in sobriety, but I can, I'll only have two drinks, and I have no desire to have a third, right? So some people just give up for life, and that's a great choice for some people. But we can actually get into a new space, a new level, when you've done enough work where you feel safe, trust yourself, and you have no desire to have that third drink. Because once you have the third drink, as we know with Alcoholics Anonymous, once you've had the third, you're powerless. Then you'll want the cigarettes, then you'll want the drugs, then you'll want the whatever else is on offer. And so there's no right and wrong here about how you choose to let go. But the key to it is to do the inner work. Would you agree? How was that for you?
I do agree. I think getting curious is the very first step anyone should take. I think that just becoming curious about sobriety, maybe wondering what that was like. Um, there was always a little voice on my shoulder, even in amongst the darkest days of my active addiction, that always kept poking me, again, reluctant hero or stubborn kept pushing me to continue to show up. Even if I hadn't put the drink down yet and you and I were getting together for sessions, I kept showing up. And having somebody on the other end that had walked the path similarly to me was really inspiring and empowering to know that it was possible. I think that I found a lot of solace in that, a lot of empathy coming from you, knowing that I wasn't alone on this path. And then as I started to become more comfortable speaking about what I was dealing with, the shame and the guilt, because we tend to suppress all of those. Once we started unpacking them, and I started releasing them with EFT tapping and some other somatic practices, yoga, breathing, body connection, which is so profound on the recovery healing journey. It's still to this day what I practice on a daily basis. But without overwhelming the listener, what I would really like to touch on is choosing that one small thing every day. And for myself personally, it wasn't only showing up with a coach like yourself, Marianne, but hitting the yoga mat. I did a simple 30-day yoga practice for the first 30 days of my sobriety, and I chose the mat over the bottle shop, and off I went. And then you started building the momentum from there.
Yeah, I want to talk about that word recovery because it's an interesting piece when people let go of a reaching for relief moment to try and self-soothe. What do you believe you're actually recovering from or to, or
this is a really great question, and everybody has such a different answer. So I believe everyone should come up with their own. Personally, I'm recovering back to that wholesome, innocent young child I once was, with the curiosity and the playfulness and the fun that got sucked out of life through addiction, through drug use, through alcohol use, sex, gambling, all of those things. I have ticked all those boxes and overcome them.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you were in hospitality for years, and there's a huge idea around hospitality. You know, everyone's doing lots of drugs and alcohol, and, some, not everybody, but when you've been in it for a long, long time and you're working those double shifts and those late hours, like truck drivers, I think there's a big uh, speed epidemic or methamphetamine epidemic amongst long haul truckies, and there's certain industries that seem to fall into that. But the beautiful thing, I'm so mega proud of you, is that now you've used your pain as your purpose, just like I did. And just like me, you're obsessed with therapy and being alive and breathing and not having to reach for anything to feel happy to be you. And that takes a daily practice. And now Kimberly has started her own business in coaching that is called Last Call, especially designed for the hospitality industry. So anyone out there in hospo that's struggling to, and one thing you always used to say to me, I had a choice when I left work, do I turn right or do I turn left? Right, it's such a significant thing, like it's like when I remember when I used to gamble and I'd leave the bar and I'd go, well, do I turn right to the casino or do I turn left to go home? Like it was just phenomenal. And so I love your website, and it's just amazing. So
Thank you. Thank you. It's really amazing, that whole turning left or right, and all those years that I turned right after service and went to the pub, taking all of that pain and all of those moments, and now full circle back around and really being able to give back to an industry that is constantly of service and constantly there for other people and are not getting the recognition and the attention that they need to be supported and to feel resourceful.
yeah.
Looking at statistics of, the hospitality industry, the amount of people, I worked 2.5 decades. And when I did the average of how many people I served, it was upwards to 250,000. That's a lot of demands. That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of people, taking us to the breaking point. And
Yeah,
so I
exactly.
want to be there and lay that foundation for other hospitality staff to know that it's okay to speak about it. and to put your hand up and ask for help, because it's still very stigmatized and still a very uncomfortable topic that not a lot of
Yeah.
people want to talk about. And I'm here to start knocking on doors and talking about it.
Yeah, good on you. And also, I noticed that a lot of people don't realize the causes of their addictive behavior, right? So pressure can be one thing, but when we do the work and we go back into our timeline, we all know that from this childhood package of feeling neglected or being abused or being hurt or feeling like you're nothing, or whatever your story is often the pathway when you get into pressure moments in life, making poor decisions, not wanting to feel the I don't belong, nobody wants me, I don't feel comfortable, anxiety or post traumatic stress disorder or childhood post traumatic stress disorder plays out with people don't often realize when they're going through major change in life, new home, new break up with boyfriend, girlfriend, marriage falls to bits, losing a loved one, all those big bang moments where the pressure and the addiction rises through the roof, right? Because it's the fear and the inability to feel through those moments and know you're safe, because we were never trained with emotionally intelligent parents. So we just go into trauma response. I need to run, I need to drink, I need to feel powerful. So that's why you and I liked those Milky Way drugs, like, because it made us feel strong and powerful and superwoman, and nobody would even know, you know. So what was I remember your worst moment. I wonder if you remember your worst moment that we shared over a phone call one night, where it was your
Yeah.
big turning point.
Yeah, it was one of my biggest turning points, and I had taken it a little bit too far with the harder substances, and I had to call 911. I was overdosing. I had you on one phone and I had 911 on the other, and the classic cold bathroom floor, laying there, thinking that my world was about to end, and feeling, hopeless.
Yeah, I think
But
those
so
times, those,
empowered, having you just knowing that you have support is really what can get you through. I couldn't imagine laying on that cold bathroom floor alone with only a paramedic to support me. Not that, that's a great support line, but really having someone to hold my hand through that, got me through. It got me out alive on the other side.
yeah, it was like it was pretty touch and go. You couldn't feel your feet, your legs, and it's a scary moment. But the thing is that people don't have to go to rock bottom to change their behaviors. And this is where having mastery over your identity, when you do something about it, if you're doing the bottle of wine a night, you got a problem right there. Right, I used to go home and pour a drink, and here's another thing for everybody. If everybody, this is how you know you've got a problem: when you have that drink and you go, ah, and you feel like you've come home to yourself, you've just calmed your nervous system. So there's something to calm. There's something that keeps coming up day in, day out, that's uneasy in your nervous system, that's telling your brain you're not safe and you need to self-medicate. And this is a problem. So you're either going to end up destroying relationships time and time again. You're either going to end up feeling like a complete loser time and time again. You're going to end up with liver disease or some other problem, dementia, all of these byproducts of alcohol, drugs. And even if you're a sugar addict, most people are addicted to that alcohol through the sugar, right?
And I think one point that you had just said, you don't have to hit rock bottom before you can start to come back up. And I think that's one of my biggest missions in this, is to let these hospitality workers know that, like myself personally, I had to step out of the industry. I lost 4 jobs in a row for drinking on shift. So I had to take a step back and hang the apron up and put the corkscrew down. But what I want hospitality staff to know, it doesn't have to get to that. let's find a way to maintain the job, to be around it, and to stand in your power and not give it away night after night after night, and still do the job you love, because industry veterans love hospitality. And so I want to be there to empower them to just put the drink down, but keep the job.
Yeah, and there's other jobs related to hospo that you don't have to be wait staff or behind a bar, because that's going to be very challenging. But
Mm-hmm.
also, there's lots and lots of related industries without doing that. But another thing to consider is when we do the work, and the work is around every time, every week, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week, you would show up in the early days, right? And that willingness, you knew it was either do or die. And so when people make a conscious choice to say, I actually want a better life for myself,
Yeah.
I actually want to feel joy without having to find joy through alcohol. And you see, all of these people, it's no disrespect to people that drink a lot. This is the culture and the mentality that we've all been brought up in. This is where we saw our parents, the only time we saw them happy and joyous when they were on the piss, right? This
Yeah.
is the times where we saw people really celebrating when they were on the piss. And
Yeah.
so these things can lead, depending what your unresolved issues are, and most people don't even know what they are. But I ask people this question: what reason do you have to put that in your mouth, apart from just being social and having a drink? And why do you have to have more than two? Why do you have to have 2 bottles? Why do you have to have hard liquor? Why do you have to end up with a bright red face and saying stupid things or going to bed sideways? What's the reason? Have you noticed what the reason is? Because these are the hard questions we've got to ask ourselves.
Yeah.
So, Kimberly.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think knowing that I had like a sober companion, I think is really, I just, when you were speaking about hospitality staff, it is really tricky to be around alcohol and to say no. But I think knowing that I had a sober companion, someone that I could talk to if I didn't hang a right every night, was really empowering for me.
And having you been accountable, I would say to you, did you turn left or right?
Yeah.
And you would be so honest and say, I turned left. I just feel like shit, and I go, good on you. And so the more because the pain becomes unbearable, the choices we make becomes unbearable. People just get sick of it. I can't handle this lifestyle anymore. I want something better for myself. And this is the joy of waking up. This is the joy of taking responsibility. This is the joy of taking the adult seat and going, I'm going to reach out to somebody who's doing it, who's done it, who knows my pain. So yeah, how are you feeling about life now that you're being 2 or 3 years sober? And
3 years and 4 months.
wow.
3 years and 4 months. I know. I feel great. I'm in the best place I have ever been in. I continue to show up for myself. I'm learning the secrets to the universe as I progress to be able to cultivate and create the life that I've always dreamed. And I never, I never could have imagined it being this incredible. I get my dopamine hits from cold plunging. I still hit the yoga mat every day. I'm, doing breathing practices and surrounding myself with like-minded people who are wholesome and nurturing and comforting and not toxic. So it seems for anyone at the beginning stages of wanting to get sober, it seems like a huge leap to get to where I am today. But when I reflect back on my journey, it's those little steps. Like I said, just that simple 30-day challenge on the yoga mat was a wonderful start for myself. Getting a coach, wonderful start, even if it was only once a week or once every couple of weeks. Those little steps compound and turn into, amazing successes and achievements that are very worthwhile of celebrating. So
Exactly.
yeah.
So it's a
Yeah,
really good thing to reflect on duality. So look at, if everyone can look at their current lifestyle and look at every fuck up they've ever done. Could you say that alcohol was the basis of all of them?
yeah, very high percentage. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so if you look at all the trauma, drama, all the drama on the planet, 90% would be alcohol based, self esteem based, and emotional insecurity based. So everything is coming from, if everyone was emotionally secure, if everybody had the right tools and techniques, if everybody had support, nurture, encouragement, everything that that child never got, then there's no reason why somebody can't walk the walk and talk the talk.
Yeah. The tools in the belt are vital.
Yeah.
And you know, back growing up and in my years of active addiction, I didn't have any other tools but alcohol and drugs. They were my tools to cope with life.
Yes.
Um, you know, and so now,
Exactly. And
yeah,
beautiful point. It's what everybody does. They stick
yeah,
instead of putting a ring on it, they stick a fag in it, they stick a vape in it, they stick sugar in it, they stick alcohol in it, they stick drugs in it, whatever it takes to cope with life.
yeah,
So imagine being emotionally capable. That's all it takes. And you and I, now you as well, have all the tools and techniques to become emotionally capable so you don't have to give up everything or become a saint, or if that's what you want to do, that's great. Or you can choose to, go down a really, really constant, consistent, happy, healthy pathway. And if you do feel you can have one beer or one whatever, then do it. But if you
yeah.
don't,
It's
uh,
about knowing yourself and really checking in with yourself before you do, have that one drink, maybe two. Because I just personally say no. I'm happy with herbal tea,
yeah,
because I know it just doesn't serve me.
I used to say to people that I had when you say, "Oh, you're not drinking," like I was a boring. People just think I was a born again Christian. I remember when I went through this scene, and I'd say I've actually got a compromised liver.
Yeah,
Oh, and that was acceptable to people. I've got a compromised liver. And my liver was so compromised because I drank like so much through my 20s and 30s and 40s. It was just horrendous. So yeah, it's pretty good to get to a place. And one thing I notice about you, which everyone notices about me too, how much younger you're looking. When you first came to me, you were grey. And look how beautiful your skin is, and you're just glowing, and no Botox required, but fresh air and health and vitality. That's what you
yeah.
look like when you don't put a thing in it. And
And
smoking like you was the hardest, like me, to stop
hey,
in.
I I'm gonna put my hand up and say, actually, yesterday marks 8 months of being nicotine free. It was very hard for me. It was the last standing addiction, and I went out with a bang, and I honored the tobacco plant and all it had done for me, because again, it was my friend. It's connection. The opposite of addiction is connection. And so I felt connected, but I don't need that because I'm fully connected to myself. And that's very empowering. And I just spent the holidays surrounded by people who were drinking excessively, possibly not excessively, but within that, sitting back and watching from the outside and standing in my power and saying no was just profound. And every time I choose to do it, I feel myself growing stronger and stronger. So
Yeah. Well,
Amazing.
as we've discussed, we've both got lots of things to offer. Being empathetic coaches, having gone through major addiction, you don't have to have the major addictions that we've both had, but we can assure you that both of us have a tremendous amount of energy to help you through whatever you want to let go of. And check out the links. And if you want to work with Kimberly, if you want to work with me, if you want to join a group thing or whatever it is, we're available for you. And together we'll get you in a place where you love being you in a very kind and self-loving way.
Amazing. Thank you, Marianne. It's been a pleasure. Thank you,
Yeah.
everyone, for tuning in.
Okay. Bye.
Bye for now.